Hey, it's Ryan from 2minutetennis.net, and in this video, I'm going to give you 5 tips to help you improve your toss. Please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Even share this video with a friend, as those are the best ways to support this channel. So, this is a hot topic. People are always asking, how can I improve the consistency of my toss? I'm going to give you 5 simple tips. You don't have to use all 5. Just see what works for you. And if you have a really good toss, then just turn this video off and watch one of my other videos, because I don't want to ruin the good toss you already have. This is for players who are struggling with the consistency of their toss. So the first mistake I'm going to help you fix is bending the elbow, bending the wrist, flicking the ball off the fingertips, which just makes for a really erratic toss. And also it can make for a very high toss because you're really flicking the ball with your wrist and flicking it off your fingertips. And it has to do with the way you're holding the ball. So instead of holding the ball with your palm up, which again has the elbow pointing down where we kind of like do a bicep curl, or we flick the ball with our wrist, try actually holding the ball like it's a glass of water. If you hold the ball with your palm to the side, notice the difference in my elbow position. See, my elbow down, I can flick the elbow and flick the wrist. But when I turn my hand like I'm holding a glass of water or a bottle of water, now my elbow is pointing to the side, which means the only thing I'm going to lift now is my shoulder. Same thing with my wrist. My palm is up, I can flick my wrist. Not everybody who has a palm up toss flicks the wrist, by the way, and it's best not to flick the wrist. But if you keep flicking the wrist, try holding it like a glass of water. You're not going to flick the wrist anymore. And also, I've noticed that players with the most erratic tosses and the craziest tosses tend to have a lot of rotation on the ball. If you're a coach, I think you know what I'm talking about here. Players with crazier tosses and the ball goes all over the place, the ball really spins because they're rolling the ball off the fingertips and the ball goes all over the place. So hold the ball like a glass of water. So you walk up to serve, I'm on this side, so I'm gonna say 40 love. All right, so 40 love. I'm gonna serve, and then when I begin, I'm not gonna have my palm up, I'm gonna have my palm to the side. And I'm gonna rest the racket on the ball, and I'm then gonna toss the ball like I'm holding that bottle of water, like that glass of water, and I'm gonna throw it into the air, and I'm not gonna let the water spill. Another thing this fixes is a very high toss. Now, if you have a very high toss, and it's super accurate, and your serve is awesome, then you're fine, you're good. But if you are struggling with the consistency of your toss and you have quite a high toss, this will lower the toss a bit, which is a good thing because it gives you less time to swing, and that just creates the environment for racket speed, and you get to increase the speed of your serve. So the first tip, hold the ball like a glass of water and toss. And practice tossing. You'll see my palm is still to the side rather than my palm up. Toss the ball. You'll only be able to toss from the shoulder, and you won't have a super high toss. It'll be so much more consistent. I would say, and this is the reason why I made this the first tip, that tip right there for my clients, I've been teaching at this club for 24 years, that is the #1 tip I give to players, meaning the first tip, and it is also #1 because it's the most valuable to them. It makes such a big difference in the consistency of the toss. So try that. Let me know in the comments below what you think of that one in particular. So the second tip, I see players when they toss, recreational players every day at the club here, they toss behind them. So you'll see players, they'll toss, and if they don't catch the ball or if they don't hit it, the ball lands behind them. When the pros hit their toss or toss the ball, their ball goes into the court. And it doesn't matter if you're hitting a flat serve, it doesn't matter if you're hitting a slice serve, even a kick serve, the ball's gonna at least go into the blue or inside the baseline. So I want you to do something called the J toss, which can help you get the toss to go into the court. If you want to know what this looks like, look at Ivo Karlovic. By the way, Ivo Karlovic tosses the ball like a glass of water as well. If you watch him release the ball, his palm is perfectly to the side. But he does the J toss where he brings the ball, and the reason it's called a J toss is because the hand kind of draws the letter J, the tossing hand. And I'll show you this from the side if I'm going to serve this direction. When players toss behind them, if I'm serving this way, when players toss behind them, oops, that's why you always have another ball in your pocket when you're recording. When players toss behind them, it's because they're reaching out and then they let go a little too late and the ball goes this way, right? Your arm is a radius, so it's just going to draw a circle. So what you can do is bring the ball, still holding it like a glass of water, right? We can bring the ball behind our tossing shoulder, and then we end up tossing into the court. See, the ball doesn't necessarily have to go up and down like an elevator in an elevator shaft. It doesn't have to just go straight up and straight down. The ball can travel like a rainbow, and that's what you see the pros do. The pros don't toss straight up and straight down. There's a little forward movement so they can lean into the serve and get some racket speed. So the best way really to fix this for players is to help them bring the ball when they coil. If you've ever seen any of my other videos, I talk about coiling at the beginning of the serve, which actually naturally brings the tossing hand behind the tossing shoulder. Now I can toss into the court, and you'll see the ball going forward into the court. That proves that the ball's traveling in a rainbow. So try, again, you can do the glass of water, holding the ball like a glass of water, but try at the beginning of your toss, coiling your body, turning your upper body, and bringing the ball so it's behind your tossing shoulder. Again, from the side, it looks like this. I turn, now you can see the tossing hand is behind the tossing shoulder. So when I toss, I'm gonna toss forward into the court. We're gonna use the fact that the arm is a radius to our advantage, and we're gonna bring the ball behind, allowing us to toss into the court. If you're someone who tosses behind you and you're always leaning back when you hit your serve, this is a great way to start learning how to get the toss to go in the court. The third tip has to do with the speed that you lift your arm. So this is so simple, but sometimes the simple fixes are the best. A lot of players, they toss the ball so high in the air and they don't realize that it's because their arm went really fast. If you have a really high toss, the only way that happened is because your arm went up really fast, or you were bending your elbow fast or flicking your wrist fast. So what you can try is to purposely have a very slow tossing arm. So you can toss slowly and watch the pros. I was just watching a Tsitsipas, a Stefanos match, Australian Open, and it's amazing how just slowly the pros toss. Look at Serena, her tossing arm, it's so slow. Sampras, I can think back to my childhood watching Sampras. It's such a slow movement, but players tend to go in their service rhythm, they tend to go fast, slow, fast. So they go fast, slow, fast. That's the way they serve. You want to have a very slow beginning to your service motion. So try tossing purposely slowly. Try tossing slowly. That'll just help you to not, fling it up. I don't even know where that can, oh, here it is. Hit the rafters above me. When you move your arm really fast, that's when the ball goes really fast and out of control. So try tossing with a very slow arm and focusing on that, and it will help you have a more consistent toss. The fourth tip has to do with where your tossing arm ends up after you toss. So many players toss the ball and immediately upon releasing, which should happen around head level, you'll see like Sam Groth or Rafael Nadal, they toss a little bit lower, their arm's a little bent when they do it, but they do have a consistent toss. But a lot of players toss and then immediately stop and pull the arm down. When you think of the pros serving, you always think of their tossing arm being straight up in the air like this. You think of this tossing arm being up. Look at Nadal and look at Roddick, and their tossing arms even behind them a little bit. Recreational players who struggle with the toss tend to release the ball and then stop, which promotes bending the elbow, flicking the wrist. So try tossing and keeping your tossing arm going up until it is straight up in the air. That's another way to help you to only use the shoulder. If you bend from your elbow, you're gonna toss like this, and all of a sudden your arm is bent. So we wanna practice just using the shoulder to toss, and one thing you can do to make sure of that happening is to have your tossing arm straight up in the air after you serve, or after you toss the ball. And then the last thing I wanna show you is get something like physical to toss into. You can use a bucket. I've got a hopper here. Now I'm gonna be on the ad side here. I'm gonna be tossing into this bucket, or this hopper, but I want you to notice that I have the hopper to the right of me and into the court. So I don't want you putting the hopper like in line with you. because I don't want you tossing there and then you're having to lean out of the way to get to that ball. So put the hopper or put the bucket into the court. You can think of almost like 45 degrees when you do this. And then actually toss into the hopper. We'll see how consistent my toss is. I'm actually gonna do really all the things that I mentioned to you. I'm gonna hold the ball like a glass of water. I'm gonna bring the ball behind my shoulder. I'm going to have a very slow arm and keep my arm up, and we'll see if we can get it into the hopper. Oh! I always put the hopper in the wrong place. That was a joke. That was a joke. There we go. Oh! I want it to stay in. Come on. Close. So having a hopper is like a little fun way of actually playing a game with yourself to see if you can do it. As a kid, I used to put the racket on the ground and see if I could make it land on the racket. Use those tips. Maybe just watching this video, one of them makes sense to you. You're like, oh, that makes sense. I bet if I use that one, it's gonna make a world of difference. If you have a friend who's struggling with their toss, if you got a buddy or a girlfriend who's on a local team that, who plays with you and they're struggling with their toss, please send this video to them. And let me know which tip or tips in the comments below. Let me know which tips kind of make the most sense to you. But if you can use these tips and improve your toss and build your confidence, that's only gonna that gained confidence is only gonna help you win more matches and play much better tennis. Thank you so much. This is Ryan from 2minutetennis.net. You got this.